Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to our webinars cycle. Today, we will have a webinar on Globant Enterprise AI, how to boost your business with AI agents and with agentic processes. The workshop will be conducted by Eugenio Garcia. He is a product manager at Globant Enterprise AI, and the dynamics will be as usual. First, we will have a presentation by Eugenio, and then we will have a Q&A session towards the end, and you will be able to open your mics and ask your questions or write them down. Remember that this webinar has simultaneous interpretation into English and Portuguese. If you choose that, that's the bottom part of your screen, the interpretation icon. So without further ado, I'll leave you with Eugenio. Thank you so much, Aníbal. Thank you, everyone. Hello, it's a pleasure to be back in these webinars together with Aníbal. My intention for today is to tell you, and especially to show you, a bit of what's new with the platform, and also to tell you about what's coming soon in upcoming versions. To give you some context for those of you that maybe haven't really dived into Globant Enterprise AI, I would like to start with a brief overview of what it's for and what our focus is and what we are trying to achieve through the platform. I think that we are in a unique time. We're going through a completely different technological revolution if you compare it to previous ones, because it is affecting absolutely everyone. It's not just affecting the IT world and those of us that work developing technology, but it's also affecting people in general. It's like we're having two different revolutions happening at the same time. On the one hand, you have all the people that are making use, that are experimenting with these new things that generative AI has brought along, the possibility of creating your own agent to make your everyday tasks much easier and increase your productivity. I don't think that a day goes by without me using at least one of the agents that I've created to help me develop an idea or to maybe run that on the backlog on Jira, or just go through all the ideation process of new features that you can think of for a platform. And much of the information that we gather from the different users, we use that as feedback to make new improvements. So we have that revolution that's happening individually, that revolution that is about using AI to become more productive in all the things that we do. And at the same time, we have organizations. Organizations have been impacted by this clearly, and we're going through a time in which many companies are rethinking how those business processes that in many cases have already been automated should change, or at least they're understanding or they're analyzing how AI has impacted on those. So it's not just a tool that will help me save time, but rather something that is here to change the way in which we work in our companies and the way in which we develop our everyday tasks with the support of these agentic capacities that are offered to us nowadays by AI. So what we have done based on this, basically, it's to generate a platform that will allow us to not only help people, but organizations in those adoption processes. So perhaps instead of seeing it as two separate revolutions, we try to using one platform to make it easier for companies and for individuals to have a safe access to large language models, while also making sure that the company has governance in terms of how that is used within the company, with security, keeping data privacy. And a book that I've read in the last couple of weeks, I've been reading it, and I really recommend it. Came out not that long ago. There is in the book a hypothesis that is put forth, which basically says that the true value of all that has to do with AI goes beyond the mere fact of being able to automate individual tasks. But what the book says is that the true value lies in that you have a tool that will allow you to reach a coordination without um, consensus. So we have different legacy systems in our companies. We have a never-ending list of APIs, and all this technology allows us to use those APIs without us having to necessarily modify them or define protocols of how they share information from one to the other. And that is one of the strengths that you get with the generative AI-based agents. And that is what it means by coordination without uh, a consensus, because you can simplify that and you can give that as a tool to people to solve problems in a completely different way. And of course, this is going to reduce many coordination costs. And of course, it's going to unlock integration and scalability opportunities. It's going to allow us to scale up to much more complex ecosystems. So I super recommend this book. It's a very easy read and it's got some very cool examples as to uh, how this coordination issue has evolved over time with different business models. And this has always been managed by those who have the power to coordinate. It claims that those who are in power are those that have the power to coordinate. Uh, it mentions the example of containers and shipments between ports and when that became a standard. So I think it's a very good read, and I wanted to share that with you. Regarding our vision at Globant Enterprise AI, what we are trying to find is the best path so that companies will truly adopt artificial intelligence in a way that it will have a positive impact on the way in which they work. So we have changed and we have evolved the platform for three different, very different kinds of users. On the one hand, you have the administrator user, the one that is mainly concerned about governance, observability, security, cost management. And for that person, we have our console where that user can manage all these things. We then have the lab, which is designed for builders. In other words, these people that create agents to overcome those specific tasks, but also to model flows, where you're orchestrating different agents, or maybe where you're modeling agentic processes for automation in some more complex cases. And it's here in the lab where builders will also connect different internal tools within the company or external tools, and they will give these agents those tools so that they can run them and ultimately achieve a tangible result. And finally, we've got our end users, our consumers. In upcoming versions, we will be offering something that we call the station. Up until now, we had been working with a front end, which was the workspace, where you could publish all the agents, and from there they could be consumed by these users. What I'll introduce you to today is a new front, which goes way beyond what we had up until now with Workspace. Of course, our goal here is to have a place within the organization where you can publish all the agentic solutions that are made in the organization. And so we would like to provide a discovery for all those solutions so that users can, if they have the permit, to run to run them themselves, or even download that agentic solution and bring it to the lab, for instance, and to customize it without having to start from scratch with a solution that they know works and that is similar, and they found it in the station and that market of sorts. It's clear today that AI goes beyond adoption. It is gradually becoming a way of operating within companies, of innovating within companies. Internally at Globant, we have built a number of agents to speed up the development process and the whole software development life cycle. And as part of that reinvention, uh, which is by providing services that are leveraged by agents, well, that is where all these agents that we have called Coda fall within. That's the suite, that's the category of agents that are being used nowadays in the service area of Globant for the development of new projects. And at the same time, specific agents for industries are being generated. All of this, of course, running on Enterprise AI as a platform, both in terms of the definition and in terms of the execution of all these agents. So Global Enterprise AI nowadays can be seen as a connector between three worlds. On the one hand, all the things that you have in a company, structured data, all the things that you have in your databases, APIs, non-structured data, such as documents. And now through the Model Context Protocol that it was really well adopted by the community, and it's a protocol that was generated by Anthropic. We also have another channel with which we can integrate to tools of different sorts and different kinds. We also have the foundational technology world, the use of the very LLMs, the use of vectorial databases, and where also now there is a new protocol that it's Google's agent-to-agent protocol, which is having a very fast adoption, and it allows us for agents that have been built using other frameworks to be imported on Global Enterprise AI and to use them as well. And also that the agents that are designed on Global Enterprise AI will be automatically exposed in this protocol to be used from other frameworks. And also business applications, all right? So all the things that I do on Global Enterprise AI is exposed through an API, which means that it can be integrated and embedded in any of my business applications. Global Enterprise AI has been designed to run on any cloud, and that allows us to have our customers install that within their own private clouds, their own private environments, and in this way they can have control over the privacy of all the data, all the information that they're processing through the platform. Another key aspect of the platform is this thing of being free to choose against which model you would like to run something depending on the agent that you create. Because one thing that we have seen empirically is that in the face of different issues, we might need to use different models. Sometimes because of pricing issues, sometimes because of performance issues, and some others because of the effectiveness that you will get with certain models to overcome certain scenarios. So with Global Enterprise AI, when you bring all this together, what you end up having is a group of agents, agentic processes, and flows that you can make available, whether it's through business applications or through channels such as Slack, Teams, WhatsApp, or a web chat. So that is, in a nutshell, just a big overview of what we try to achieve through Globant Enterprise AI. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move to a demo where my intention is to tell you about all the different capabilities that uh, Globant Enterprise AI has to offer by showing you uh, on the very tool. Okay, so this is the lab. This is one of the components that I was talking about a few minutes ago. This component, which is oriented to that user, uh, and this is for agent creation. And to create an agent, I can start from scratch. I can do it manually. I can configure all the prompting. I can set up the tools, or I can use Iris. Iris, who is our meta agent. And Iris is going to help me initialize this agent that I want to create. And here I'm requesting Iris to create an agent for talent hunting. So I want Iris to generate a description of the profile, the different tasks, and here it's asking me if I would like to include sub-agents as tools to, uh, and I'm going to say no because I don't want it to reuse any of the agents that I've already created in this project. And then what Iris is doing is it's going through all the available tools and all the available models, and it's collecting all that contextual information to do this, which is uh, to initialize with a name, with a description, the role, the guidelines, which is basically the prompt of the agent as well. It even came up with a few examples so that people can use that as a reference. And if I go here to AI setup, AI configuration, it selected the model, it selected the reasoning strategy. So if I want, I can just change the model for whichever model I want with different providers. And this is something that goes in crescendo. Now we connected, for example, with Azure AI Foundry, which I think offers more than something like 10,000 models, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, it runs on Anthropic, OpenAI, etc. Here we have the latest versions of GPT. I was recommended that I go with GPT 4.0. In that sense, well, you know what? I'm gonna change it. Uh, I'm gonna use 4.1 instead, and in terms of reasoning strategies, I'm gonna leave it with a chain of thought reasoning strategy, but there are reasons for this. I'm going to configure it to use the maximum number of tokens possible to generate a result. And here you can see that it selected two tools. One which is for a web search and the other one which is to scrape the information that it finds on the website. So given a URL that it can get the content of that URL and that I can use that content. I'm going to say I want to generate a document, a Google document with the answer. Let's see what Iris does. I want to see if it understands my request, and I wanted to modify my prompt and also to add the corresponding tool. Okay, here it's asking me something. I'm going to say that I want to add the tool to generate Google Drive documents. Of course, what I'm doing is interacting with Iris. I'm giving it instructions, and this can be one way. The other way is that you change it directly here. So here the instruction was not well received, so I'm gonna directly find the tool that I have to generate Google Docs, and it's configured for it to send the document to my account. I've configured a secret at console level for all the setup of what I would like the authentication for this drive tool to be like. So I'm going to give that a try. And once I've configured my agent, I can start testing it. So I'm going to say I'm looking for a developer's, a web developer full stack profile with experience using Angular, Node.js, and Java, and also React. And that's kind of difficult to find, but what you can see there is that the agent is running the different tools that I fed it in the configuration. And something new that this version has, which was released last week, it's September's version. You have this tab here, which is debug. And for instance, here I've got an error when it wants to run the do the web scraping. And we could see basically, so apparently there was some kind of error when it wanted to find the content of that website, and that's the whole purpose of this debug tab. Regardless, and besides this error, it came up with a full stack web developer's profile, and now I have the possibility to download a JSON, and that JSON file, it will group all the debug console. Yeah. Okay, again, because I need to, I have configured for JSON to, for the JSON to be opened by Firefox. Okay. So what we do here is all that trace, you can see the whole thing in just one file. So this is what we do when we want to debug and we're running the agent. Here it's asking me if I want to create a document. And basically what the agent should do is to try to use the tool that I gave it to create Google Documents on Drive. So considering all the text, now we can make that into a document format. And so here it took a while because it was trying to authenticate what had been configured, which is for that tool, authentication happens through a logout, and then the user needs to log in to record that document in that very user's drive. So if I continue with that flow, what it's going to do is it's going to redirect to the Google service. And here I select my account, and I'm going to allow a permit to the platform, so that that document that the agent is creating will be stored in my own, will be saved in my own drive. So here it's finishing the document, and this document was created in my account. And in fact, I could come here and I could move it because this is my Drive account. So up until now, we had the possibility of using these tools through a service account. So all these things, all the things that were generated by this agent went to one single folder, shared by all the people that were using the same agent. Now you can do this by user, which is great. So once that you have your agent set up and you've tested it, you can save it, and that's going to result in a first version.
Y si nosotros vamos a, por ejemplo, a ejecutar
So for
este
instance,
agente
if we
este,
want to run
de
this
tu
agent
workspace, ya
on
deberíamos
Wordspace,
encontrarlo. Este se llamaba
this one was called
Talent
Talent Profile
Profile Builder.
Builder.
Vamos a buscarlo por acá.
And I write it here. Here
Ok,
I have it.
entonces
It's
ya me
being made
quedó
available
disponibilizado
and I can run it.
el agente para
So
yo
here I
poderlo
can say,
hacer.
for instance,
Entonces
a
puedo decir
profile for
perfil para
a Python developer.
developer Python. ¿Está bien? En este caso, yo ya lo configuré para
So now
que
in
en esta
this
sesión de
browser
navegador
session,
estoy
I'm
sobre el
using the
mismo
same user,
usuario
the
y
one with
puedo
which
testear el
I
agente
tested
porque
the
ya hice el
agents,
proceso de
the
login
agent 2 seconds
con
ago. I did all the
el
login
usuario
with
de
my
Drive,
Drive
entonces
account,
acá
so it should
simplemente
just give
le
me an
voy a dar
answer.
la respuesta
And
a
if I
él
ask it to
diciéndole que
generate
me
a
genere el
document,
documento.
it should not ask
No
me
debería
to
pedir
log
un
in.
login. ¿Ok?
But
Pero
if I
como
hadn't logged
yo no
in,
me
and
había logueado,
because
cuando esto
I
se lo
had
disponibilice
made this
todo
available to all the
developer
users,
lo
to all those
use,
that are using the
si yo
agent
genero el
through
agente a
Workspace,
través
they
de
would
Workspace,
have a
les
pop-up
aparecería también el
to
botón
log in.
de login. Acá me dice si quiero
Here it's asking me if I would like
crear
to generate a
el
document, and
documento. Le
I
digo que sí.
say
Bueno, en este caso
yes.
yo lo que esperaría que haga es simplemente que me lo genere y me ofrezca el link
And
para
I would
poder
ask it to
acceder
give me a link so that I can have
al
access to the
documento, ¿ok?
document because
Porque ya hice
I
el
have already
proceso
been through the
de
authorization
autorización.
process.
Bueno, bien,
So these are some of the
una de las novedades que
this is
estamos
some of the new
trabajando en
stuff
lo que
that
es
we are
el
making
control de las
available
tools de
with
Drive. Eh,
these
el
Drive
tema del
tools,
filtro
and
out en otras tools es algo que estamos trabajando para que también
we're
ustedes
also
puedan
working so that you can
importar
import your own
tools
REST APIs and your own
extraterrestres
tools that will most likely
simplemente
require
requieran autorización a través de
an
vouchers
authentication. So
puedan
you would have
ustedes
to log
elegir
in,
los
and they
temas.
would require the
Entonces,
same
acá me
steps.
generó el documento con
And this is the document
ciertos
generated
datos.
with
Yo
this
les
new
acabo
profile that I've just
de indicar.
indicated.
¿Ok? Bueno, otra de las novedades que
Another feature
agregamos
that we added
también
to
a los
agents
agentes
is the
es la
possibility of
posibilidad de poder
customizing all the
personalizar toda
information
la
that
información que
appears
aparece
here,
acá, desde
ranging
los
from the
ejemplos
examples
que queremos darles
that
los
we would like to
prompts
give users
a
for
los
the prompts,
usuarios,
as well as
como
the list of
la
features
lista
that
de
we would like to
características que
highlight.
queremos destacar. Este es uno que
This
se
one
llama Job
is one that is
Profile.
called Job Profile, and if
Si
you come
vamos
here
acá
to the lab,
abajo, vamos a
you
ver
will see where it's getting
de
all the
dónde
information.
saca toda esta información.
So within the
Dentro de la
agent's
configuración
configuration,
del
there is a
agente
new
hay toda
section,
una
which is the
sección
agent
nueva, Agent
presentation.
Presentation, donde yo puedo
And you
poner
can write an intro, you
una
can write a
introducción,
description, the
solicitud de
different
información,
conversation
los distintos
starters,
conversation starters,
the features that you would like
las
to
features que
highlight
puede
of the
sacar el
agent.
agente. Todo esto lo podemos
And all
modificar
of
desde
this is
acá
managed
y
here,
eso en
and it
definitiva
affects
afecta a
basically how
cómo
we
presentamos
present
cuando
when we
uno genera
generate
una
a
sesión
chat
de chat
session with an agent
con un
on
agente
the
en el
workspace.
Workspace. Otra de las cosas que hemos estado
Another
trabajando
thing that we have
en
worked a lot
los
on
últimos
in the
releases, bueno,
last
así
couple of
como
releases
tenemos
is just
opciones
like
de
we have
debugging
debugging options
en
for
Globant,
agents, we have
en los agentes,
also
también lo hemos hecho para
done this
la ejecución de vamos a
to
ejecutar acá un
execute
proceso agéntico,
agentic processes.
donde le voy a subir un
And I'm
documento
going to
que
upload a
diga
document for an
buscar
insurance
seguros.
proposal.
Entonces acá le vamos a poner, no sé, vamos a ponerle de la misma
So
forma para
likewise,
la
to run
ejecución de
agentic
procesos
processes,
agénticos.
once it
Una vez que
starts,
inicie,
we
también hemos
also
puesto
added
información
information
para
to
poder ir
access not
accediendo
only
no solo
the
al test,
test, but also
sino
here,
también
for
acá, por
example,
ejemplo, se me
all
habilitó
the
todos
files
los archivos
that
que se
were
van a generar.
generated
En
that
este
is
caso
enabled as
fue
well.
el
So in this
archivo
case,
que
I have the
subí,
file that I
pero a
uploaded, but
medida que
as
este
the
proceso
agentic
agéntico va
process
avanzando,
moves
además
forward,
de
apart
ver
from
todo el
seeing
log
all the log as you would see with
que
the
se debería en
execution
la
of an
exposición de un
agent,
agente,
you will be
voy
able
a
to
ir
see all the
pudiendo ver
different
acá
files that are
los archivos que
generated
se
in
van
these agentic
generando
processes.
en estos procesos agénticos.
And these
Estos procesos
processes are
agénticos hoy están pensados
thought
para
today
una
for
automatización,
automation,
no
so
hay
there is no
todavía
human
intervención
intervention.
humana acá.
They've been
Están pensados
designed
para que uno
to be
los use a
used
través de
via
APIs,
API, like
bien
a
el
classic
proceso de
automation process. And one of
automatización.
the things that we are
Una de las
working
cosas
on
que estamos trabajando
for future versions
versiones
is that
futuras es
there will
que hayan
be
tareas acá que
tasks
sean
that are basically
básicamente que
done
se
by a
encuentre una
person.
persona,
So
¿no?
for that, there
Encima
will
de
be an
eso va
inbox
a haber un
where the
inbox donde
person can have
va a
access
tener
to the
acceso a
different
a
tasks
la
that they
gente
need
que
to
tiene que
generate.
ejecutar y de esa forma empezar a meter en el loop
And
de estos
we will
procesos
incorporate in the
automatizados
loop of these
a la persona que
automated
tiene que
processes the
corregir o
people, for
validar
instance,
la
that need to validate
documentación
the documentation that is
que se
generated.
va generando. Bueno, como ven acá, esto podemos ver
So here
cada
you can
uno de
see the
los
different
pasos también
steps.
de los que se van ejecutando. Acá
Here it's the
selecciono el
file that I've
archivo
just
que lo acabo de subir. El
uploaded.
cliente básicamente obtiene la información de ese
And
archivo
with that
y con
information,
eso está
now
creando
it's
ahora en este
creating a
momento
new file
otro archivo con
which
todos los datos que
extracts all the
sacó, ¿no?
data,
De cliente, dirección y
the
demás.
customer's
Y de
name,
hecho acá me
address,
acaba de
etc.
poner el numerito del 1 al 2.
So here
Entonces
it's
acá
got
podemos ver
a number,
qué fue lo
and
que
you can see
puso.
what it
Entonces
has,
ya puedo ir viendo
uh,
qué fue lo que en definitiva,
what it basically got. Give me just a second because
déjenme
it's in the
moverlo
other
porque está en
screen.
la otra pantalla.
But this was the
Este
file
es el
with the
archivo con la
information
información
that it
que se
extracted.
extrajo, o sea, es un JSON con la información del cliente y del
And
producto que extrajo
this is
de
what it
la
extracted when it
ejecución
was
de este
executing
proceso,
this
¿no?
agentic process. So
Entonces, además de poder ir
apart
viendo
from seeing
la
the
traza de lo que está
trace,
haciendo, vamos a poder ir
you
viendo
can see the
los
files that
archivos que
are
se van
generated.
generando y de la misma forma vamos a
And
poder
likewise, you
descargar
can
toda la traza
download the whole
en
trace
archivo.
in one file. So
Bueno, eso ya son parte
that's
también de
also
las
part of the
mejoras que hemos
improvements that we
agregado
have
acá. Y de lo
um,
otro también que
added.
hemos puesto es
And another thing that
la
we
integración de
have
flows dentro de
incorporated is the integration
entonces,
of
acá cuando voy a editar
flows. So if I
el
want to edit a
flujo,
flow, it
directamente voy
opens
me abre
the
la
tab
pestaña
so that
para
I
poder
can
trabajar sobre un flujo.
work on a flow.
Ahora no
I'm
voy
not going to delve into
a
too
entrar
much
en
detail with
detalles,
this,
pero
but
tengamos en
let's
cuenta
bear
que
in
los
mind that
flujos
flows
están
are there for
implementados
those
para el
cases
caso
in
donde
which you
queremos,
want to
por ejemplo,
chain a
armar
number of
los
agents,
agentes
thinking
pensando en
of
una
a
interacción
conversational interaction,
conversacional, o sea, en un chat.
because
¿Ok?
these
Porque
flows
estos
can later
flujos
be
después se pueden
exposed
exponer a
through
través
Slack
de
or
un
through
Slack, a
WhatsApp or
través de un
Teams.
WhatsApp, a través de un Teams. Estos son
So these are
integraciones que
integrations that
uno
you can
puede
configure.
configurar acá, Teams, WhatsApp, Slack. Este, y
And
los
agentic
procesos
processes
agénticos
are
son más
mainly
orientados
oriented
a procesos
to
de más
asynchronous
sincrónicos,
processes
donde
where you
se
require much
se
more
requiere
time
mucho más
for the
tiempo para la
execution.
ejecución y donde no hay
And
un
when
ida
there
y
is
vuelta
not
conversacional. ¿Ok?
a
Esa es
conversation that's
en
going
esencia la
back and forth, that
diferencia
is the
entre
difference
un
between
flujos
agentic processes
agénticos de
nowadays and
y los
conversational
flujos
flows.
conversacionales. Bueno, otra,
Another area
otra área
where
donde
we're
estamos
working,
trabajando,
and
y
this
esto por ejemplo
is
ya lo tenemos acá a
uh,
nivel de los agentes, es,
about agents as
bueno,
well. I
yo
have this
tengo este
agent that I've
agente, por
just
ejemplo, que
created,
acabamos de hacer,
this talent
el
profile builder.
Talent Profile Builder,
And I want
y
to take that
quiero
to a new
llevarlo a
project. I
otro
want to take
proyecto, lo
that
quiero
to a different
llevar a
environment,
otro environment
uh,
dentro,
to a
a otra
different
institución
place of
de
Globant
Globant.
Enterprise
¿Qué voy
AI.
a
So I'm
hacer
going to
para
export
exportarlo?
that. And
Eso
what
lo
that is
que
going
me
to
va a
generate
generar es, vamos a ponerle,
is, okay, I'm going to write a name
quiero que me ayude a
that
identificarlo, le
helps
voy a poner
me
2. Me va
identify
a
it. So
generar
it's
un
going to
archivo
generate
JSON con toda la
a
definición
JSON
de ese
file
agente y las
with
tools
the definition of that
que
agent and all the
usamos.
tools that I'm using. Now, let's imagine that
Imaginemos
I change
que
environment.
me paso a otro ambiente.
And what I'm
Acá
going to
lo que
do
voy a
here
hacer
is to
es
just
cambiarme
change the
simplemente
project.
de
So I will
proyecto, o sea,
stay
dejarlo en
in
el
the
mismo ambiente,
same
pero en un
environment, but
proyecto
different project. So
diferente.
I'm going
Por
to go to
ejemplo, me
this
voy a
one that is
pasar a un
called
proyecto
default.
default.
And
Como
you
ven,
see
en
that in
este
this process, I
proyecto
have
no
no
tengo
agent,
agentes.
right? So what I
Entonces,
will
lo
do
que voy a
is I will
hacer es
import an
importar
agent.
un agente. Y voy a utilizar
And
el archivo que recién,
I'm going to
el
import
punto H
the
final, que es
file
este
that
de
I
acá,
just
Talent Profile Builder.
saved, which has the two here. And we're going to read
Vamos
that
a
file, and I'm
leer
going to
ese
import that.
archivo y lo voy a importar. Entonces,
So
con
what I've
esto
done with that
lo que acabo de hacer básicamente es
is
traerme
to basically
toda
have
la
the
misma
same, the very
definición de ese
definition of
agente
the
que
agent that
acabamos
I've
de
just
crear,
created, but for a
pero
different
para otro
project. And
proyecto.
this
Y
is
esto mismo sirve si la instalación
useful
fuera de
if the
otro lado, o sea,
installation is
si
done
tengo
in
una
a different place. For
instalación
example, if you have a
desarrollada en un
production environment
proyecto,
and a development environment,
o bueno, tengo
or you
distintas
have different
instalaciones de Globant
installations
Enterprise AI.
of Globant Enterprise
Si
AI. So
vamos a
if you
las
go to the
tools, vemos
tools,
que me trajo todas las mismas,
you will
solo que
see
acá,
that
por
it
ejemplo,
has
esto que
all the
está en
same
otro
ones, but
color,
this that is in a
me
different
está
color, what
queriendo
this is
decir que
telling me is that this tool
esta
in particular
herramienta
is not
particular
configured.
acá
It
no
still
está
needs
configurada,
to
le
be
falta la
configured for it to
configuración
work.
para que pueda funcionar. ¿ok?
because
Porque
basically
obviamente
the credentials
credenciales
and
o
parameters such
parámetros
as
del
the
mail,
email, that is not
eso
part of
no
what
es
gets
parte de lo que se
exported
exporta, ¿ok? Porque eso es
because
particular
that is specific,
a cada
that's
proyecto.
specific to every
Entonces,
project. So what
esta
this tool does
herramienta lo que nos
is
permite es eso, básicamente tener
it
un
allows us to
mecanismo
have
de
a
poder
mechanism
compartir
to
de una
share
forma
in a very easy
bien
and
simple
transparent way
los agentes
the different
entre
agents
proyectos
between
este,
projects
y entre proyectos
and
e instalaciones,
between installations, if that were the case.
si así lo quisiéramos. Bueno, bien, entonces vamos a pasar
And now
al
we're going to move
siguiente
to the
punto,
next point,
que es todo este tema que se ha puesto muy de moda,
which
que es
is
cómo
very
puedo
trendy, and that is how can I use
usar
tool
herramientas a
through
través de
this
este protocolo
MCP protocol, which
MCP,
is
Model Context
Context
Protocol,
Protocol,
que les comentaba
a
antes, que es un
protocol
protocolo
that
que
was
este año
published this
publicó
year by
Anthropic y
Anthropic. I
está,
told you about it a few minutes ago, and it's become very
se ha
popular.
popularizado bastante. Yo acá lo que tengo
And what I have here is a
es una
terminal,
terminal,
in this
¿ok?
case,
En este
a
caso una Mac,
Linux
una terminal Linux,
terminal on
donde por
my
un lado, para
Mac.
poder importar
And to import
herramientas como
tools from
de, por
Airbnb, for
ejemplo,
instance,
de Airbnb, donde
where
hay
there is a
un
public
server público
Airbnb
de
server
Airbnb o otras
or
acá
others
estuve
that I was
probando con el Museo del
trying out,
Oro.
for example, with the Met, the museum.
Bueno, básicamente lo que tengo
What
que
I have
hacer
to
es
do is,
declarar,
well, there is a
una
way
forma de
of
declarar
declaring
a
to which
qué
servers you
servidores
would
me
like
quiero
to connect.
conectar. ¿Ok? Eso
So
es lo
that
que
is what I
hago
do
ahí.
there.
Después, lo que hice
And
fue
then what
instalarme
I
el
did was
SDK
to
Python
install the Python
de Globant
SDK
Enterprise AI. En ese
in
SDK
Globant Enterprise
nosotros
AI.
tenemos
And so we
este
have this
proxy,
proxy.
el GEA-proxy,
And
que
I basically
básicamente
say,
le digo,
okay,
bueno,
get the
levanta la
configuration of the
configuración de ese
file
archivo que
that
recién
you
les mostraba, que es
that I
este de
just show
acá,
you.
y en este caso le digo, bueno,
And I say,
apunta
okay,
al ambiente de
aim
prueba.
for the
¿Ok? Hay una
environment,
forma de configurar esto,
production,
esta es
the
la
production
presentación
environment.
del SDK y del
This is
proxy,
relatively
bastante
straightforward. You have a lot of
simple,
documentation as
está
to how
todo
to do
documentado.
this. And what I'm
Entonces,
gonna
lo que
do
voy a hacer
here
acá es
is
ejecutar, levantar la
I'm gonna
instancia de este proxy para que se pueda
pick an
conectar
instance
a
of this
través de esa
proxy for it to
definición con
connect
esos
through the
MCP
definition with the
servers
MCP servers
e
and to
importar
import
todas
all
esas
the
cosas
tools
que
that
están
were declared in
declaradas
those servers.
en esos servidores.
For
Por
instance, I
ejemplo, me
have
trajo una
an
URL
Airbnb
search de
search
Airbnb y otra
tool.
para listar detalles.
And what I'm gonna do
Entonces,
now
ahora lo que voy a hacer
is I'm gonna
voy
go
a
back
volver
to
al
the
lab
lab.
y en el lab lo que voy a ver
And
es
what I'll
que
see is that
efectivamente tengo
indeed
una
I
lista de
have a tool.
items de Airbnb. O sea, ¿qué fue lo que
And
sucedió?
what happened when
Básicamente,
I
yo ejecuto
run
el proxy,
the proxy, it connects
se
to
conecta
those
con esos
MCP
servers
servers,
y me importa
and
la definición de los tools.
I'm concerned.
¿Ok? Y
What
esos
I
tools
care about is
quedan
the definition of those
disponibles para
tools.
este
These tools
proyecto.
are
Yo
available for
acá
this
tengo,
project
por
now.
ejemplo,
So, for instance, I have this Airbnb
Airbnb
Finder here
Finder
that I
que
had already
se
configured,
había configurado,
to which
al
I'm
cual
giving
le
the
estoy
different
dando los
Airbnb
tools de
tools.
Airbnb. Si nosotros vamos
If I wanted,
y le pedimos,
for
por
instance, to
ejemplo, no sé, voy a buscar
uh, look for
apartamentos
an apartment
sobre,
on Copacabana Beach
sobre
in Rio.
Copacabana.
Let's
Vamos a
just
ponerle
include
en
that in
Río por las
Rio
dudas.
bit just in case for
Para
four
cuatro
people
personas
in November.
en noviembre. Entonces ahora
So now one of the
obviamente
things that you would
lo que
expect the
yo quiero que
agent to
haga es
do
justamente que
is
vaya
to run
a ejecutar
the
la tool
Airbnb
de
tool. Now
Airbnb.
this tool
Ahora, esta tool lo
is
está
being
ejecutando a
run
través
through
de este
that
proxy
proxy,
que está
and
levantado
then
y después me trae la
it will
información
bring the
y
information
depende
and
de
the
la
agent will
processing me la
process it.
resuelve. Por
And
ejemplo,
so
si
if we
venimos
come here,
acá,
for
vamos
instance,
a ver si
we will see this. Yeah,
efectivamente
it is
está
offering
ofreciendo ese
precisely this
apartamento
Copacabana
en
apartment.
Copacabana. Si yo voy a ver, acá me va quedando
And here in the
enseguida,
output,
bueno,
I
todo
have all the
la ejecución que se está haciendo
execution that is being done through the
a través
MCP
del MCP
server,
server.
right?
¿Está bien? Entonces, esta es una
So this
de
is one
las
of the
formas que hoy
ways in
tenemos de
which
poder ejecutar
you can
tools. De hecho, ya hay formas
execute
de
these
que
tools.
cada uno de nosotros podamos programar
So there are different ways in which you can
tu propio
produce
MCP
your own
server,
MCP server. You can
hostearlo
host it internally, for instance,
internamente
to have
para, por
access to
ejemplo,
different
acceder
internal
a
tools
distintas tools internas
that
que las
might
puedes
be
usar
from
desde
an
un
exe
exe que ya
file that's
tenés en la
running on
red
the web to
hasta
scripts,
scripts, batch
batches,
o swap.
or APIs.
¿Ok?
And
y a
here I
eso le
could say,
podía decir,
okay,
bueno,
show me
mostrame
the
los
current prices
precios
in dollars,
en
please.
dólares.
So what I'm
Entonces,
doing
acá en
here is
realidad lo
I'm
que estoy
combining
probando
not only the
es
use of the tool,
no
but
solo el
also
uso
the
del tool,
capacity
sino la
of the model
capacidad del modelo de decir,
to,
bueno,
for instance, say,
por
okay,
ejemplo,
here
acá
it's in
son pesos
Uruguayan pesos,
uruguayos
and I
y
want,
está usando
and it's
esta
using
conversión
this
aproximada
conversion
que
rate,
me convirtió
and
los
it
precios
converted them to
a un
an
aproximado en
approximated
dólares.
dollars.
Si yo le diera acá la
Uh,
herramienta de búsqueda en web, le podría decir a
so
la gente
I
esto
could
en
tell the
prompting
agent in
la
the prompting
información de la
that it
información,
should
la
get
saque desde el
the
sitio.
conversion rate
¿Ok?
from a certain site,
Y ahí
from a
es,
certain
es un
site, and
poco
that
la
is kind of
magia
like
que
the
les
magic
decía
of
al
that
principio de
coordination
esa
uh,
combinación no
without
consensuada.
consensus that I was referring to.
Yo
As a
como
builder,
gestor
I
no
don't
tengo
need
por
to know
qué saber
exactly how the
exactamente cómo
API
se hace para
works
obtener
to
las
get
cotizaciones de
a
determinados
rate
cookies.
from a website.
Lo
That
que
is done
suelen
by
los
an agent just by
estafadores
browsing,
simplemente buscando en la
scraping the
web,
web, and
haciendo
extracting
scrapping,
the
extrayendo la
necessary information.
información y después
And then the
la
agent
gente
does its
haciendo la
magic
magia para
so
que,
that it
bueno,
will
tome ese
get the value
valor
in it will to
y me haga la
versions that
conversión que
correspond.
corresponde.
So
Entonces,
MCP
MCP
gives us this
nos
chance
da
of
esta chance de poder
integrating many more tools
integrar
than
muchos más
we
tools
could
que
even
nosotros
offer
inclusive podemos lograr
natively
ofrecer
in the on the platform.
internamente en la plataforma. Bueno, esas son
So
algunas de
these are some of
las
the
novedades que hay a
news that
nivel
we have regarding the lab
del
and
lab, a
the
nivel del
workspace.
workspace, integraciones. Lo
And
otro
another
es
thing that
lo
I
que les
was telling
comentaba,
you, which is it's
esto
slightly
bueno,
more
es un poco más
technical,
técnico,
but
pero hay
uh,
una,
if you go to
ustedes
docs,
si van a
Globant
docs,
AI,
Globant AI, van a ver que
you'll see that we have
hemos
reorganized the
reorganizado la
documentation.
documentación y bueno, y por
And for the
perfil
developer's
de
profile,
developer
we have
hemos
left
ubicado
all
bueno, toda la
the
documentación de
documentation
cómo,
as to
por
where to
ejemplo, cómo
import
importar
these tools
herramientas
from,
usando MCP,
or to
también
use
un
the A2A
poco
protocol.
acá
You have the whole
está todo
tutorial
el tutorial de cómo
of how these
exponen
cards are exposed
las cards
following the
siguiendo el
agent-to-agent
protocolo de
protocol.
agent to
So
agent. Entonces, todos los
uh,
agentes que
all the agents
automáticamente
that we
o
automatically make
simultáneamente se crean en la
available on the
plataforma
platform
ya
can be
pueden ser
published through this
publicados a través de
protocol,
este
which
protocolo. Esto
means
significa
that you
que
can
yo
go
puedo ir con Creo AI
to an
e importar, o
that
sea,
you can
poder usar
use or
el agente
import
que
the
está
agent that was made available through Globant
disponibilizado a través
Enterprise
de
AI.
Globant Enterprise AI. Otra de las cosas
Another
que también
thing
hemos
that we
agregado
added in the last
en
couple of
estas últimas
versions has
versiones
to
es
do
lo que tiene que ver
with
con
uh,
indicadores
indicators of the
de
use of the
uso de la
platform.
plataforma. Por
For
ejemplo,
instance,
agregamos
we
acá una
added a
vista
more
más
detailed
detallada
view
del tiempo de
of
consumo de los
token
tokens.
consumption.
Por ejemplo, esta
So
semana
this
yo ya
week, for
vengo
instance,
consumiendo
I've
más
consumed
de casi 2
almost 2
millones
million
de
tokens.
tokens.
Here you
Acá
can see the
podemos ver
detail
el
per
detalle
agent.
por cada uno de los agentes, cada uno de los modelos. De hecho, como ven, el
This
Airbnb Finder
Airbnb Finder, here
le
I
fui
changed
cambiando
the
el
model and I
modelo y fui
did
haciendo
different
distintas
tests.
pruebas. Entonces acá me va mostrando ese detalle.
And
También
we added
agregamos
an
un
adoption
dashboard de
dashboard that
adopción
is
más
oriented
orientado a saber,
towards
bueno, cuáles
understanding what
son
are
el
the
top
top
de
agents being
agentes que
used,
más se usan,
the top 10 of
el top de
users as
usuarios
well per
también
request,
por request, el top de
the
agentes según el
top of
consumo
agents
de tokens,
according
porque
to
bueno,
token
esto nos puede
consumption. This could
servir
be
para darnos
useful, for
cuenta de
example,
que
to
hay una
understand that there is
gente
an
que
agent
bueno,
that is
está
consuming
consumiendo
too many
demasiados
tokens, which
tokens,
of course
lo cual
might
obviamente puede
drive
hacer que se incrementen
costs
los
up.
costos y eso puede
Or that
significar
might
o
mean that we need
que
to move
necesitamos ir
to
a
a
un
different
modelo
model or
diferente
adjust the
o
prompting
ajustar
so
el
that that
prompting
will not
para
be
que eso no se
rocketing
dispare.
like that. And then
Después
at
a nivel de
users level,
usuarios
we could
podemos
have
tener un
a
listado
list of all the different
de
requests
los
that are
requests que
made, the
hace, del
total
costo,
number of
total
tokens
de tokens
consumed.
consumido.
And at platform
Y
level, we
también a
have
nivel de
added a
plataforma
view
hemos agregado una
so
vista
that
para poder
we
tener,
can have, for instance,
por ejemplo,
uh,
saber cómo
how
están usando dentro de la
the
organización
platform is being
la
used
plataforma,
within
qué
the
tanto volumen
organization,
tenemos, cuántos
how many
agentes que
processes, how
entregamos,
many
cuántos
agents have
procesos,
been created,
agentes,
how many
flujos,
projects, and so on
proyectos
over
y
time.
demás
Yeah,
en el tiempo,
so
¿no? Es
this
más
is
orientado a decir, bueno, realmente
oriented towards
está la
analyzing whether or
organización
not the
haciendo
organization is
adopción
truly adopting the
de
platform.
la plataforma. Bueno, todo eso también lo hemos
And
ido
all of this, well,
sumando
that's new
desde acá.
here.
Bueno,
So
en
that is,
esencia,
in
estas eran
essence, what I had
de
to
las
share with
novedades
you.
más importantes que
Um,
quería comentarles.
Another
Después,
important
otro
thing
tema importante
that I had
que
mentioned
había
earlier
saludado
was
al
that
inicio de que bueno, queremos
We want to
darle
give the end
consumidor
consumer
final
not
no solo el
only
acceso
access
a través
through
del
Google
workspace, que es lo que
Space,
tenemos hoy,
to Workspace as we
sino
have
a
it
través
today, but
de
through a
un
marketplace
marketplace, un
where
lugar
you
donde
can
se
share
puedan
all the
compartir todas las
agentic
soluciones
solutions of the
agénticas
organization.
de la organización. Y eso es
And that is
básicamente lo
basically what
que
we call the
llamamos
station. This
station.
station,
Este
this
station,
version that I'm showing
esta
you,
versión que les estoy mostrando acá,
was
la
released first
liberamos
for
primero
internal
para un
use within
ecosistema
Globant,
dentro de Globant, donde
where we
hemos
have
ido
published not
publicando
not
todos los
only
agentes
the
que se
agents that
usan
are used in
en
the different
distintos
projects,
proyectos de
the different
trabajo con
Globant
Globant,
projects for giving
para todo lo que es dar
support to
soporte
the
y
software
el
development
ciclo de
cycle,
desarrollo de software,
but
como
also some
bueno, otros agentes que
other
otros
agents that have been created
globers
by other
han ido
Globers
creando para
that
desde
range from
analizar un
analyzing a
contrato
contract to analyzing an
hasta
RFP,
analizar un RFP,
uh,
por
or this
ejemplo,
one
lo
with
que
which we were
estuvimos
very
muy
involved
involucrados en el equipo de
in the
Globant
Globant Enterprise
Enterprise
AI
AI,
team.
que, bueno, a ver si
Let me see if this is a
es
session issue.
tema de
Yeah, okay.
sesión, ahí,
So
que es
that
el
is
de
having
tener
a
un coach
coach around Globant
alrededor
Enterprise
de la
AI.
red.
Yeah,
O
so
sea,
we
por ejemplo,
fed
a
this
este
one
le
with all the
documentamos toda la
wikis
documentación del
documentation,
wiki,
the public
de la
documentation on the
documentación
platform,
pública de la
but there are
plataforma,
also internal
pero también hay
documents that
documentos internos
we
que
have
tenemos
in the
de la
platform that range
plataforma
from
desde
pricing
pricing
to
a
comparisons with other
comparativos con
similar
otras
solutions.
soluciones. Toda esta
So
información,
all that information,
básicamente este agente usa
basically, it
otros agentes
uses this
especializados
agent
según
uses
el
other
tipo de
specialized agents,
información,
and depending on the
dependiendo de la
question,
pregunta, entonces
it
le
will
va
summarize
resolviendo
the
la
answer to the
respuesta
user.
al usuario.
Yeah.
Y bueno, un poco el objetivo
So the
de
goal of this
este
station
station
is
es
that we
que
can
podamos
make these
disponibilizar
agentic solutions
las
available
soluciones
within the
agénticas
organization.
a nivel de la organización, pero a su vez, bueno,
And at
además
the same time that
obviamente
users
que los
can
usuarios puedan ir dando un
rate the
rating
different solutions,
de
that they
de
can
las
share,
soluciones, que
that they
puedan
can
compartir,
download it.
lo puedan descargar
Downloading
esto,
here,
el
it's like
download a través, por
X for
ejemplo,
import
import de agentes, entonces yo lo voy a
of the
poder
agent,
traer
so
a
I
mi
can bring that to my
proyecto
project
y
and I
voy
can
a poder
customize it.
personalizar,
Or
que
just that I want to
directamente
start a
quiero iniciar una
conversation
conversación
with this agent,
la
and that
gente y me
is
va a
going to
iniciar en el
initiate
workspace
in the
una nueva
workspace a
sesión de
new
chat
chat session
con
with this agent.
este
So I
agente, ¿no?
can
Entonces
ask
acá
it,
le
for
puedo
instance,
preguntar
um,
eh, cómo
how can I
puedo usar NCP, ok,
use
con Global Enterprise
MCP
AI.
with Globant Enterprise AI?
Ok, todo esto se está alimentando en
And all of this
definitiva
is feeding
de un
from a
agente
RAG
RAG,
agent
que es el que
that
se
is
especializa en la
specialized in
documentación
the
que tenemos hoy
documentation
puesta en la
that
documentación
is official
oficial
on the platform.
de la plataforma. Entonces, este agente, además de que lo armamos para que dé
So this agent, apart from
respuestas
giving
muy
very
orientadas
how-to
al cómo, ¿no? En
oriented
cómo resolver,
responses,
también
it will give
le
you
va a dar las referencias
references as to where it
bueno,
got
de
the
dónde sacó la
information from, and
información
it
y
will
ya nos
take you
iba
directly to the
actualizando la
documentation.
documentación. Eh,
So
entonces,
that is what the
el station nos
station
sirve para
is
eso,
for, to
para
share with the
compartir
rest
con el
of the
resto de la
organization the
organización
different agentic solutions.
las distintas soluciones agénticas.
And this is
Esto es
something
algo
that
que además
uh,
después nos permite publicar por
will allow you
distintas
to publish per
industrias, posibilidad de
industry
uso y demás.
based on how easy to use it
Es algo
is.
que
And so
esperamos
it's something that we are hoping
estrenarlo
to
en
have ready
próximas
for the next
versiones,
versions. If it's not October,
si es
definitely
octubre,
November.
noviembre,
Available
ya
to
disponible
all the
para todos los
different
clientes, pero ahora le
customers.
hemos
We've been
venido
getting
madurando
it ready
internamente
internally,
y eso va a
and
hacer que, por
that
ejemplo, en verdad, a
this
ver
is
si
more
voy
like
pasando un
a
poquito más
development
del servicio
environment.
nuestro, van a encontrar
You will
soluciones a
find
futuro
a
que me
future
va a
option
permitir
that will
publicar
allow me to publish any of these agents
cualquiera de
and
estos
to
agentes,
submit it,
hacer un submit para poder publicar el agente
to
lo que
publish
es
the agent on the
station,
station. I can
donde
say
yo
if it
voy a
is
poder
chat
decir
based,
chat
I can
base,
configure the
donde se
different,
van a poder configurar con la
uh,
documentación
I can,
qué
I have a
industrias, o
taxonomy,
sea,
a
la
list of
taxonomía de
industries
industrias
that I would like to apply. Is it
que se
easy
le
of
quiera
use?
aplicar, facilidad de
Uh,
uso y demás.
and when I submit
Cuando
this,
yo le hago el submit a
what's
esto,
going to
lo que
happen
va a pasar es que el administrador de esa
is that
station
the
acá va a
manager
poder
of
venir
this,
y
the admin
ver cuáles
of
son
this
las
uh,
soluciones
solution can see
agénticas que
which
tiene
agentic
pendientes
solutions are
de
pending a
hacer la
review,
review para poder este, nada, para poder
to approve
aprobar
the
la presentación y que realmente aparezcan ahí.
publication
Y
and that
esto
you
acá
can
como
finally see them. And it's going to be
permite
this
tener un
comparison
comparador para ver, bueno,
between the
desde
previous
arranqué con
version that
primera
was
versión
already
está
published to the new
publicada la
version,
versión
what
nueva,
has
qué
changed,
cambios
what's new.
hay. ¿Está bien?
And that is
Esa
a
es una
tool that
herramienta que,
will
bueno,
also
va a
be a
ser
part of the
también parte
future of where
de
we're
el futuro de
moving
hacia dónde vamos con
in terms
apuntando
of
a los usuarios que
uh,
son
targeting those users
consumidores
that consume agents.
de los agentes. Nada,
Well, this is,
esto
of
es
course,
algo
something that you're going to be
que
hearing about
obviamente se van a enterar en los
when we
anuncios de
make the
las
next
próximas
announcements
versiones
for the next versions that
que
are
estén
coming up.
llegando de la plataforma.
So yeah, that's a bit
Así que
of
bueno, eso es un poco
what I
lo
had
que
to share with you
tenía para contarles
regarding the platform.
sobre la plataforma, por lo
And
cual
we still have, I
tenemos
think,
un espacio
there
todavía
a few
para responder
minutes.
preguntas, ¿no, Aníbal?
Sí, tenemos ahí algún
Yes, we
espacio para
have
que
10
aquel
minutes.
que
So
tiene alguna
those
duda,
of you
algo
that have a
para
doubt or
preguntar,
you would like
tenemos.
to
Este es el
ask a
momento.
question,
Aprovecho
this
para
is
las
the time. I've
preguntas.
got one
Tengo
by
acá
Jorge
una de
Salazar,
Jorge
and
Salazar
he
que es
said, "Do agentic
los
processes
agentic process.
uh,
¿Pueden
can agentic
integrar un
processes
flow?
integrate flow?" Agentic
Los procesos
processes
agénticos no,
can't.
hoy
They
solo
can only
pueden
interact with
interactuar con
agents
agentes.
now.
Perfecto. Por acá
Here,
tengo
Christian is
otro pregunta.
asking,
¿Está disponible
uh,
documentación de los
is the
endpoints para
documentation
crear
of the endpoints to
tokens?
create API tokens available?
Estamos en
Yes, we're
eso,
on it. We're working a lot on
trabajando en esa
documentation.
implementación.
If it's
En
not
ese
ready already,
punto debería estar
it should
desplegando
be
en
very
breve.
soon.
Acá
Here, it's
estamos
basically
básicamente en el sitio de documentación. Bueno, esto está
this is
creciendo
growing a lot,
bastante
and you're definitely going to be
y por
finding
acá
it
le
very
vamos a
soon if it's not
meter
ready now.
API Organization
So there is
porque
one,
se
for
vendió
example, to
una
get
fecha
the
para
tokens
registrarlo
list of
como
a project.
proyecto y ahora se está trabajando en esas otras documentaciones.
Okay, great. I have an
Perfecto. Por
anonymous
acá
question that says, if
alguien
I
que
use
dice,
chat with
utilizo
data
chat with
through an
data
API,
por medio
what
de la API.
tool or
¿Qué
implementation is
herramienta o
recommended to
implementación se
show the
recomienda para
response
mostrar la
obtained?
respuesta obtenida?
Bueno, ahí
Okay, so if you're
si lo
using
usan vía API,
that
van a tener
via
que
API, you will have
simplemente
to process
procesar el JSON, la
the
información que les
JSON
devuelve,
with the
y con esa
information that
entidad van a
it
tener que
gives you, and
resolverla.
the output you will
Esto
have
no
to
tenemos ninguna
work that out
recomendación
yourself, so you
por
don't have a specific recommendation.
el chat with
The chat with
database está
database
diseñado para que
is designed
funcionen
so
los
that the
controles dentro
controls
de nuestro
work within our
workflow. O sea,
workspace.
si
So,
yo
for
vengo
instance, if I come
acá
here and I chat,
y chateo
um,
con un agente de estos que me permiten chatear con una base de datos,
these agents allow me to chat
también
with
lo
a
puedo
database, even though I can
ejecutar.
use that
El API no te va a
with
devolver
an API.
exactamente
The
la,
API is not going to
tabla
give you the table
que
that
me
it's
muestra
showing
acá, ¿no?
here. It's going to give you
Va a
some
devolver
raw
los datos
data.
crudos. Después es
And then it's the
responsabilidad del
developer's
desarrollador ver cómo
responsibility.
muestra eso. Nosotros en particular, por
So, for
ejemplo,
example,
para las
for
gráficas
graphs, we
usamos
use
HiChat,
HiChat, which
que es una
is
librería
a very
de gráficas
nifty
muy buena.
library.
Entonces, si esto le digo showing
And if
a
I say
pie
here, for
chart,
example, showing a pie chart, well, you could use that
nada,
library.
podrían usar
That is
esa librería,
that's a
pero bueno, es
suggestion.
simplemente una sugerencia.
Perfecto. Eh,
It says, good
Ricardo,
afternoon.
los
The
datos
data
o
or
códigos
codes of your
de
Coda agents, how
Agentic
did you obtain
Coda,
that?
¿cómo se obtuvieron?
Bueno, hoy los
Okay,
agentes
Coda
CODA son
agents, internal
desarrollos internos
developments
que
that we
nosotros como
have made,
sector,
people who
que hemos
are
estado
part of the
obviamente
Globant
dentro del
Enterprise AI
equipo
team.
de Global Enterprise AI,
And basically, there
básicamente hay una
is
mezcla
a
de
coding
implementación, pero
mix, a
también
lot of
mucho de
prompting
frontend.
as well.
Nada, hoy
And
son
today they are part
parte
of that
de esa suite
suite that
de
for
software.
now
Hoy
are
los
being
estamos
internally
usando
used
internamente
in Globant,
en
but
Globant. Y bueno, estamos
we're
en
having that
esa
internal conversation as
versión
to whether or not
interna
we're going to make
de
them
poder
available
disponibilizarlo a
in the
futuro por
future, for instance,
conversation junto
station with Globant Enterprise AI.
con Global Enterprise AI.
Perfecto, Luis
Okay,
Gerardo Restrepo
we have Luis
pregunta,
Gerardo asking us,
¿puede
can it
interactuar
interact
con
with Teams to
Teams
interact with
para
the
interactuar con
users?
los usuarios?
Yes,
Sí,
through
a través
a
de un flow
flow, you
se
can do it, in
se puede
fact.
hacer. De hecho, yo acá tengo,
That has
nada, eso
also
también
been
está documentado
documented in terms of how
cómo se
you have
resuelve.
to solve it.
Acá tengo un,
And here you have an
un
example,
ejemplo
which is
de,
precisely
justamente
Teams.
lo tengo en Teams.
So this is a flow.
¿Ok? Esto es un flujo, un flow,
that I
configuré
configured for
para que
it to appear
aparezca
with
este
this
nombre acá.
name.
Este
This is
es el
just
tema de
a
configuración
setting
en el portal de
thing
trabajo de
in the
Microsoft
Microsoft Teams development
de
portal
Teams.
to
Ya
connect it
cambia
with
de forma
our
entre acá y
API.
otra.
And
Y listo, a
from
partir de
that,
ahí
you have
arranco
the flow
el flujo
interacting through
interactuándolo a través
Teams.
de Teams.
Okay, great. We have a user that is asking us if we have demo versions to interact with the platform.
Con la plataforma para poderla probar.
Hay
Yes,
acceso a trial,
it's a
pero es un
trial
acceso a
access,
trial
which is limited. So
limitado
that
que
means that you
tienen
need to
que
reach the
conectarse con el
sales
equipo
team,
de ventas
Globant Enterprise AI.
de Global Enterprise AI.
Okay, when will the new designs for the console, the administration console, and playground be available?
Estamos
We're
trabajando en
working
eso
on
hoy,
redesigning the
las
console,
personas, y
and
eso
most
seguramente
likely
vamos
that's
a
going to be
trabajarlo más principio de año
towards
que
the end
viene.
of the
Es
beginning of next
difícil
year.
tener
It's
un
hard to have an
estimado porque es un
estimation
trabajo importante,
because it's significant work,
pero
but
la
the
idea
idea
es
is
que la
that the
consola tenga la
console will
misma
have the same
experiencia que el lab
UX as the
básicamente.
lab.
Perfecto.
What
Acá,
tools are
¿qué
integrated
herramientas están integradas
to
para
be
poder
selected
ser
from the tools
seleccionadas
section?
desde la
For instance,
desde la sección, por
Jira,
ejemplo,
Zoho, etc.
Jira, Soho, etcétera?
Today,
Hoy
if you go to the
entran
lab and you
al
filter
lab y filtran
uh,
en un agente, por ejemplo, no sé,
an
en cualquiera de
agent,
estos van a
if
la
you go to
parte
tools, for
de
example, you have
las
this
herramientas,
tools
tienen este
public
filtro de
filter,
herramientas públicas. Y bueno, y acá tenemos
and we have
herramientas para
tools to
hacer
have
aspectos
access
como
to sites like
la parte de acceder a un drive
argdiff
o
or RAG or
interpretar
code
código. Todas
interpreter.
estas que están acá
So
con
these
Tom Globant
Tom
AI,
Globant GEAI.
si ustedes si filtran acá, bueno, esas son básicamente
Yeah, so
las
those are
herramientas que
basically the
nosotros
tools that we
estamos
are offering
ofreciendo
built
built-in, o
in.
sea, todo lo que es manejo
Yeah,
en el drive,
drive
bueno,
management.
ahora agregamos una
We
para
added one
envíos
for
de mails
emails,
también, que
uh,
genera
generating
documentos
Word
Word en
documents
un
in a
SharePoint.
SharePoint.
Nada, estas son herramientas que vamos a seguir. Tenemos ahora
So we have a
codecer
few
pendiente
pending
para
to
hacer de
generate
PDF,
PDFs
Word,
or
generar
PPTX. These are
PPTs,
things that
y
are
son
part of
cosas
our
que tenemos
backlog
en
and
el backlog de
to
ir
add them as
agregándolas
native tools.
como herramientas nativas. Nada quita que
Of
igual
course, all
todo
of
esto
this
que estoy
means that you can
comentando
do it
se puede
nowadays,
hacer
integrating
utilizando
any
tienes
MCP server
server
that
que
you can
pueda
obtain from the
obtener
web. That's
de la
totally
web,
doable.
¿no?
Okay, great, Eugenio.
Perfecto, gracias, Eugenio. ¿Hay un
Is
administrador de
there
versiones de los
an
agentes
administrator
similar
of
a
agent
la
version
solución
similar
de
to the station
Workspace,
revision, but for
pero para
workspace
Workspace,
and
para
having
tener
agents in
agentes
development and
en
agents in
desarrollo y
production?
agentes en producción?
Sí, hoy a ver,
Yes. So if you're
cuando yo
working
estoy
today
trabajando en un
with an agent,
agente,
for
por
instance, here
ejemplo,
it says that
acá me dice
it's in
que
draft mode.
está en un modo
Yeah.
beta.
So when I click on
Cuando
publish
yo le doy
changes,
publicar
every
los
single time that I
cambios,
click
él
on
lo que
that,
cada vez que le
I'm
doy
generating a
publicar
new
cambios estoy
version.
generando una
And
versión
that
nueva y eso me va
has
a
an
impactar,
impact
me va a
on
impactar
the
el
access
acceso que
to
se genere desde Workspace,
the
porque
agent on the
Workspace siempre va a estar
workspace,
sujeto
which
a
is
la
always
versión más
having
reciente
access to
publicada.
the latest
Lo que
version
estamos
published.
trabajando
What we are
ahora es
trying to do
que
now, what we're working on
desde
now,
acá
is that
mismo va a
from
haber
this very same place,
una
you can
opción
have a new
nueva que
option, which
es
is going to be
Versions
versions,
y
and
te
it's
va a
going to
dejar
allow
ver
you to
toda la
see
lista de
all
versiones
the
anteriores.
versions list, and that will
Entonces
allow you to
eso te va a dejar
retrieve an older
recuperar una
version,
versión, te
to
va a
see an
dejar
older
ver una
version
versión anterior
in a more explicit
de
way.
una
That
forma más
is
explícita.
already
Eso está
happening every single
ocurriendo.
time that
O
you
sea,
click
cada
on
vez que
publish.
le doy
You're saving
publicar,
a version, but
estoy salvando una
and
versión
when you're editing, you're
y
in a
cuando
draft
estoy
mode.
editando estoy en un modo
So it's
draft.
something
Eso
that you're
es
working
algo
on,
que
but
estoy
until you don't
trabajándolo,
generate the
pero hasta
version,
que no
that's
genere esa
not going to have an
versión no
impact
me va a
on what
impactar a lo
you
que vamos a
see
hacer
in the workspace.
en
Then
el
on the
workspace.
station, that's going
Después
to
en el
look different
station va a
because
ser
it's like a
distinto porque
separate
ahí como una
action.
acción
So you're going to
separada.
choose
Entonces, bueno, yo
what
elijo qué
action, what
versión
version you would
quiero
like to
llevar
take to the station.
hacia el station.
Bien.
Okay, good. Is there any
¿Hay
example or
ejemplos
documentation of
de
how to create
documentación de cómo crear
Global
agentes
Enterprise AI agent and how to
web
create
o
a
cómo
tool
crear
to
tools
use it,
para
similar to what
utilizarlos
you
para
did with
hacerlo
Coda agents?
con Globant, con Coda?
Sí, tenemos documentación de
Yes, we have some
cómo
documentation
se pueden
as to
generar.
how you could generate it.
Todavía
It's
es toda
not public yet,
documentación que no hemos hecho pública,
but we
pero
do
digamos,
have
tenemos un
a
esquema
scheme of
de cómo se deberían
how
generar
you should generate the
la
metadata
entrada de
for
los
those
tools
tools so
para
that,
que
for
después, por
instance, you
ejemplo,
can
se
import
puedan
them
aportar dentro
on the
de
platform. It's
Globant.
something
Eso
that
es
we are
algo que
fine
estamos
tuning
afinando para ver
to
de que en definitiva después cualquiera
so that
pueda
anyone
hacer
can
sus
make their
propios
own
tools
tools
y
afterwards, and we can import
importarlos
that.
dentro de la plataforma.
Um,
Perfecto. ¿Existe
on the
alguna
Hoy
platform.
el
Today,
camino
when you want to
importar
import, that
es
has to be
tratar
done
de
with
transmitir
MCP or
o alojar
A2A or API REST.
a
Yeah.
través de API REST, ¿no?
Bien.
Is there an open repository for of agents, flows, etc., to see examples of solutions and all the learning through some documentation? Well,
No, aún no.
not yet. What we are
Lo que
working
sí
on
estamos
is a
trabajando de
series
eso
of
es
agents that we would
queremos
like to make available when a new
disponibilizar cuando
project
se genere
is
un proyecto
generated on the
nuevo
platform.
en la plataforma.
So
Entonces,
there are
hay
agents
docentes
that, because of our
no sé, por
experience,
experiencia,
uh,
eh,
we have
tenemos
already
ya prearmados y queremos
prearranged, and we would
empezarlos
like
a
to make those
implementar
available so that you don't have to
para que
start from
no
scratch.
arranquen de cero.
Okay, great. And now the two last,
Y
because
vamos con las dos
it's
últimas
time.
para
Can you
por
use
ahora.
GeneXus
¿Se puede utilizar
in an
GeneXus
agentic
en un
process
proceso
created by Globant
agéntico creado
Enterprise
por
AI?
Globant Enterprise AI?
Today, what you
Hoy lo
can
que
do is
podemos
you can use
utilizar es
GeneXus
GeneXus,
Next,
a
through
través
which
del
you can
cual yo puedo
create
crear
agents,
agentes.
and those agents that you're using
Desde mi código de
uh,
GeneXus, a
with
su
your
vez yo
GeneXus code
también
are
los
running on a
usé en un
project
proyecto dentro de Global Enterprise
which is
AI.
running on Globant Enterprise AI.
Y
So in a
que
nutshell,
en
that
definitiva ese
agent that you
agente que
define from
definí de
GeneXus will
GeneXus
become an
pasa a ser
agent
un agente
within
dentro de
your
mi
Globant
proyecto de
Enterprise
Global
AI
Enterprise
project.
AI,
So
con lo
that
cual
means that you
podría llegar a
could
usarlo
uh,
desde un agente que hago como mostré hoy.
so
O sea que
that is the
esa
way
es
in which you can do
la
it.
forma.
Oh no, yeah, the last one. Do we have an
Fecha estimada de la
estimated
liberación de
date
Voice
for the
Agent.
release of voice agents? No,
No, está
it's
dentro
part
de
of
las
what
cosas
we
que
are
estamos
working on.
trabajando. Nada,
It's had some
ha tenido varias
comings
idas y
and
vueltas.
goings, and we're
Nos estamos basando en
basing
el
it
AIFI
on how
y
much
bueno, esperamos
people are
de
liking
acá a fin de año
different.
poder tener
We're
novedades
basing it
sobre
on
eso.
like it, and we're hoping to see some new
Eugenio,
stuff
muchísimas
before the
gracias.
end of the year.
Excelente
Excellent,
presentación.
Eugenio. Thank you so
Gracias a
much. That
todos
was a
ustedes
great
por la
presentation. Thank you so
participación
much,
y
guys, for
recuerden que
joining
este
us.
webinar
And
queda
remember that
grabado
this
de
webinar
por
will
vicio
be
en nuestra web
published on our website,
genexus.com/webinars
genexus.com/webinars. We will see
y
you
nos
next
vemos
time
en el
around. Okay.
siguiente.
Have a
Hasta
good one.
luego.
Bye bye.